Alright everyone, here we are with some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and as you can see, the background here is a lot different, and that's because I already beat the game. And oh man, what a great game it was. So, the most I can tell you guys is that I was honestly trying to make this video the ending, but it turned out to be a lot longer than it was, so I had to split it. So it will be 2 videos, guys. So with that said, I hope you all continue to enjoy watching this one, and look forward to the ending in the next. Thank you for watching. Let's get to it. Alright guys, and we're back, and we have a most welcome face to see again. What errand? Hurley, it's really you! You're awake at last! Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise, my apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what manner, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give to the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Van Zeeks? This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly! Having spent so long already, we don't want to go waste any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Very well then, counsel, you have 5 minutes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Sholmes, are you alright now? Alright, I'm all wrong. Sorry, I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Pray forgive me should I pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Hurley, this place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Oh well, that concoction of mine was really just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by the scientific community. And oversight on my part. Right. Modesty? Surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this. My dear fellow. What's that? A lavender futoshiki wrapping. A leaving present from Mrs. Sato. From Mrs. Sato? If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions when she asked me to do her this favor. I don't understand. Mr. Sato foresaw today's events, I believe. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means both devious and underhand. And that you, Mr. Naruhodo, fighting fairly as you are wont to do, would find yourself in considerable peril. At that very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Sato-san. Whatever could it be? What is this? Oh! It's the machine I made! Ah! Look, I used this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flapomat. It can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. What's Susie up to? Mr. Sato muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be a judicial assistant. What? Didn't she say something like that? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Whatever did she mean by that, Mr. Sholmes? That night, when you left Windibanks in pursuit of the thieves, Mr. Sato made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. Not at all cryptic, then. Sato-san used this cat flapomat that night. Why? Alright, so now we got this invention in the records. Your 5 minutes is over. We're out of time already? I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, Detective. The die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their leanings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me. I need to be careful here. If I make the wrong move, the trial will end badly. My lord, the defense requests further cross-examination.
Objection!
The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now.
Objection!
The defense is not asking for the cross-examination of a new witness, rather to continue with one of the existing witnesses. What? It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. My lord, requesting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Thank you, officer. Very well, the cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? So nobody can say anything then. If Bruno asks to resume his cross-examination of Mr. Graydon, the court is obliged to allow it. Yeah, that's why I was wondering why people were saying it's over already when the cross-examination was suspended. This is absurd. I would remind those present that this is my court. I concur that the defense is entirely within its rights to request a continuation of a cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. A single chance to present evidence. If following that the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsels? You will not press the witness any further. My lord. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo. It's high time I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Mr. Sholmes! To stand so insouciantly before the court in a state of such high fever, either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or an extraordinary lack of feeling. I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yes. One statement, one piece of evidence. I won't let Mr. Sholmes down. Or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Tsusato-san has given me. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I have outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. Alright, here we go. The moment of the shooting again. While these ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When the bank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. This is where I think, because the peephole through the door... Okay. Alright. One shot, one chance. Let's go. Where is it? Objection! What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Counsel? Ooh, it's my cat Flapomet, my lord. It makes a way for cats to get in and out of the room. It can cut through any door you can think of and make a new little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats. I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. Ugh. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't. To start with, there was no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I failed to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon? A peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Mr. Winterbank had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yes, the 3 of us were together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much in my testimony. How else could I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yes, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. What? No!
Objection!
This is a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yes, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene whilst being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? That is the most serious act of vandalism, for which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, if at the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist in the door, there's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Ugh. Order! 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 Is there any credence in this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly! This is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is. Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through a solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd. I don't believe it for a second. Ha! I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy, Cooey, time for dinner. Oh, she made a door. Well, young lady, this is the Old Bailey. One does not make cat flaps in the oak paneling at the Old Bailey. I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door at Winterbank's was made by your machine. And there's no way you can prove that it was. No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps my cat flapomat creates are all a fixed size. And the dimensions of the peephole at window banks are an exact match. Ugh. Hee. Oh, Silky's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it's my learned student's friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yes, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are a perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zeeks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. But now that the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. What? Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zeeks. Well, counsel? Don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through. I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Susato-san is the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well, the counsel for the defense will present evidence to support the claim made. Oh man. Proof that the peephole in the door of Winterbank's storeroom was created after the event and not before. I think I have that. No. Yes, there it is. Boom. Yep.
Take that!
What are you? A print from the detective's infernal cameras again. My judicial assistant, Miss Susato Mikotoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, counsel. This print shows a scene in the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly wielding a gun in the direction of the defense's broker. But more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This really is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Mr. Graydon, you couldn't possibly have witnessed the crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. Order! I am satisfied that the defense has substantiated its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. But more importantly, good lord, there's more, Lord Van Zeeks? The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury. But that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene, it's true. And I was shot in the arm, it's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please. No! I don't believe this. The But they're right, as it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris? You know what they say. There's no point locking the cat's door after the cat is bolted. Isn't that right, Runo? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. No, wait, that might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there is a fundamental inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
This is a provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court, explain this alleged inconsistency? Iris is right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witnesses' statements. They show that Mr. Green had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about, namely the bloodstains on the coat. I agree. Yep, I was wondering how the heck did he know about the bloodstains on the coat? The bloodstains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right, the victim's blood splattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously, because I saw her do it to the people in the... The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you concocted that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously Has the cat got your tongue, witness? The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred. And once I returned to the shop having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibanks constantly carrying out their investigation. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Well, yes, of course. The place is chock full of pawned articles and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave the order to have officers working around the clock and shift so we get through it all. And consequently, there's no way that you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the people in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
Yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place to the peephole in the door. How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zeeks? Speak, Inspector. It's just that I really ought to begin back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so if it's all the same to you, permission denied. Oh, it's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes. Of course, sir. Mr. Graydon, you shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yes, but the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. And in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be. Who's the person in question, counsel? Who gave this witness details of the crime scene to facilitate his false testimony? Oh, I know who it is now. He made it way too obvious. Alright, Greg, see. Let's go.
Take that!
The truth is, it can only have been you, Inspector Gregson. Me?
Objection!
You had better have some proof to substantiate such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of only during the course of the trial today. Indeed, preparations for his testimony were made with great urgency during our 1-hour-long recess, while the police executed the subpoena and brought the man here from the communication station. And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have had no idea. No inkling that he would suddenly be required to appear in court. Are you suggesting that until such time as he was summoned? Yes, my lord. Until then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the people. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position, that he would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. You're suggesting to the court that it was while this trial was in progress that he received the information, so that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin? Exactly. And the only person with knowledge of the investigation that he had any contact with was you, Inspector Gregson. This is bloomin' outrage. Why would I be giving away details of our investigation to this fella, huh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in any case. Had you forgotten that? Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid eyes on one another was after the proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view in the stand where such illicit discussions couldn't possibly have occurred. They've been having secret negotiations right in front of us. Oh, I just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? Exactly! I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yes, now you mention it. When the bailiff was dispatched to retrieve Magilda's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it! It was during that testimony. Yep, right here. Right here. Look at that. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then. You little toe rag. You're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke? Admittedly, you wouldn't have had any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps it was part of a deal of some kind. Then it starts to make more sense. What deal, counsel? I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene, Mr. Graydon agreed to give a certain something to the inspector. I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance. Well, I...
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is this Nipponese student's specialty. I don't do that. But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim. Evidence? Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of this alleged deal. If Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, then logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, do you think it could be... Yes. It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. I must press you for an answer now, counsel. What evidence explains the nature of the alleged deal that Inspector Gregson made with the witness? The music box disc. Yeah, in his pocket, he asked for it. All in.
Take that!
Inspector Gregson, besides this murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case? What? are you getting at now, Sunshine? Is it possible that this other top secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice. How the bleeding Nora could you? We discovered during the course of this trial the music box deposited at Windibanks by Magnus McGildy. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in McGildy's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for details of the case. You little... Ah! Order! On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windibanks, you said this. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGildy's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. No, don't give it to him. It's mine. That is mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGildy has to be taken in as evidence now. Scotland Yard already knew at the time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGildy was involved in the stealing of government secrets. My orders were, recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information. Blimey, not likely. I mean, I wasn't that sure of it myself. I realized that there was a possibility, that's all. Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness, to aid and abet this man in giving false testimony. There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known of the existence of the peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these 2 men. No!
Objection!
If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What? What's that supposed to mean, huh? As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand. Good gracious, then you mean to say Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person?
Yes!
The defense demands that the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before. And Gregsy hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please, order an examination of his personal effects immediately. Well, Inspector. This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if it will put the matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search. What? He's going to agree to it? I presume you're aware of the precipice on which you now teeter, my learned student friend. You've made the most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service. This trial will end, and my country's government will formally demand yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious. Indeed, to have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook. You're just threatening Runo because you're scared. The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences. It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here. Very well, Counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time. Yes, my lord. Do you still persist in formally requesting a search of the Inspector's personal effects?